स्पीकर मैडम, नज़र को बदला जाए तो नज़ारे तक बदल जाते हैं, सोच को बदला जाए तो सितारे भी बदल जाते हैं। कश्तियों को बदलने की ज़रूरत नहीं होती, केवल दिशा को बदलने से किनारे अपने आप बदल जाते हैं। एक ऐसे ही दिशा की कमी आज हमारे कोचिंग होम में साफ महसूस की जा सकती है। ऑनरेबल चेयर, एस्टीम्ड मेंबर्स, ना चोर हार्यम ना च राज्य कार्यम ना भ्रात भाज्यम न च भारकारी व्यय कृते वर्धते एवं नित्यम विद्याधनम सर्वदम प्रधानम। Education is something that cannot be stolen, cannot be taxed. The more you spend, the more it becomes, the more you share, the more it expands. इतनी बड़े इन्वेस्टमेंट होने के बाद भी अगर हमारे बजट का केवल 10% इसकी ओर खर्च करा जाता है तो जनाब ये सोचने वाली बात है।
Right now, recently the results were announced. There were several students that scored full scores, and yet they were not able to secure admission. पढ़ाई हर कोई कर लेता है, right? Anyone can study. Participating in extracurricular activities give you that knowledge, give you that exposure that these things work in a certain way. It will be controversial, but what kind of democracy do we live in when we have to fear presenting our thoughts? Youth ages with time. We should understand this. If they don't get educated, do not earn enough, India will have to face a disastrous situation.
Education is something that cannot be stolen, cannot be taxed. The more you spend, the more it becomes. Well, these are the borrowed words from one of the youth icon, straight from the Youth Parliament held at Rajasthan Assembly. Tejasav, Vashisth, whose words are making buzz around the internet. So let's welcome him and get started with this candid conversation to know about education, NEP, coaching and more. Hi Tejasav, I welcome you to the Crazy Careers podcast, and it's an honor for us to be the host for you. So, what is your feeling currently to be a part of the Crazy Career podcast?
Thank you so much, Neeta, for having me. It's obviously my pleasure that I'm again getting a platform to share my thoughts and views with the public again.
Absolutely. So let's create a context for our audience. So being the youth icon straight from the Youth Parliament held recently in the Rajasthan Assembly. So would you like to give a glimpse of what exactly Youth Parliament is all about, and how did you get chance to speak in the Rajasthan Assembly?
Alright, I'll get started with what a youth parliament is. So, Youth Parliament is a platform that allows young people, usually between the ages of 11 and 25, to engage in democratic processes and have their voices heard on issues that matter to them. It's often recognized by governments, non-profits, or educational institutes to stimulate the workings of a real parliament. Participants of Youth Parliament debate on current issues, they propose legislation and discuss policies just like in an actual parliamentary setting. In some countries, the government actually takes their decisions on the basis of youth parliament as well, once they have heard the voices of the youth. So, and that will be it, explaining what a youth parliament is, and talking about how I got this opportunity to speak at the Rajasthan Vidhan Sabha. Well, I'll thank my teachers and my school because they knew that I do MUNs and I'm quite closely associated with political issues that go on in our country. So as soon as the host school, that is MSMSV, they sent us information that, hey, this event is taking place. They were like, this is the best opportunity, let's grab it.
Right. So in which grade you're currently in, and are you preparing for any competitive examinations or anything?
I'm currently in 12th grade CBSE board, and I am not specifically preparing for any competitive exam, but I'm quite interested in the IPM program, so IIT MAT is one of my preferences.
So would you like to let us know what exactly is this IBM program, because I'm sure our audiences would like to know about it.
Right. So IPM stands for Integrated Program in Management. You have this exam, IPMAT, that is Integrated Program in Management Admission Test. So usually we have this perception that IIT is for bachelors and then many people pursue their MBA from IIMs. IPM is a direct gateway that lets you complete your bachelor's and master's both from an IIM. not only IIMs, but there are other good institutes that offer IPM programs. It focuses on holistic development, offers a bachelor in either business administration or bachelor of arts as offered by IIM and all.
Right, right. So, as we know that India has one of the largest education system in the entire world. So, as a student, how do you assess the quality of education provided in our country?
Right. Being a student, I think we must first acknowledge that India's education system is indeed vast and diverse, catering to millions of students across different states, cultures, and socio-economic backgrounds. Assessing the quality of education in such a large system requires a nuanced approach, considering various factors like diversity in quality. The quality of education in India varies significantly across regions and types of institutions as well. In urban areas, particularly in states like Kerala, Maharashtra, and Tamil Nadu, they have better educational facilities and outcomes compared to rural or less developed regions. There are also disparities between private and government schools, with private institutions generally offering better resources, although we must understand that this is not a universal truth. Second, I'll talk about the access to education. India has made significant strides in increasing enrollment rates thanks to the RDE. However, access to quality education remains uneven, with marginalized communities, particularly in rural and tribal areas, facing more challenges. I'll also talk about the curriculum and the pedagogy. The curriculum in many schools is often criticized for being overly theoretical and not sufficiently focused on practical skills or critical thinking. Right, NEP 2020, it aims to address some of these issues by promoting a more holistic and flexible multidisciplinary approach to education. But again, its implementation will take time and we'll have to face these issues for more years to come. I'll also add that higher education and research, though India has some world-class institutions like the IITs and IIMs, but the overall higher education system faces challenges in terms of quality and research output. There's a need for greater investment in research and development, faculty development, and collaboration with global institutions. In summary, I'll just say that while India's education system has made significant progress, especially in terms of access, there's still a long way to go in ensuring high quality education across the board. The ongoing reforms, if implemented effectively and not just on paper, could help bridge these gaps and elevate the overall standard of education in the country.
Right, right. So, with a growing emphasis on the skill-based learning, so do you think that Indian education system have implemented such skill-based training, and is it improving in that path, or it is not yet improving in that path? Like, are our students getting skill-based training enough, or they are yet to get the skill-based training?
Being a 12th grader myself, I'll talk about the condition in 12th grade itself, right? So the system is trying. The CBSE board, for example, is trying. They give 12th PCM students, if I talk about specifically, they are given investigatory projects in physics and chemistry, right? So now we expect a child to do some research, learn, interrogate, investigate. Most importantly, invest their time into this. But why would the child? The incentivization is too low. At the end, what matters is how well you can take the right answer in the competitive exam. So it becomes quite obvious that the person will invest that time into rote learning the concepts and practicing numericals rather than focusing on skill-based learning.
Right, right. So, do you think that percentage evaluation system was still better than the percentile and grading system, or you'd anytime would like to go ahead with the percentile and grading system?
If I talk about my personal opinion, they both have their own pros and cons. Let's take the example of CUET, for example, right? Right now, recently the results were announced. There were several students that scored full scores, and yet they were not able to secure admissions, because if you have 50 seats, 100 people are scoring full marks, and still, how will you judge that, okay, these 50 people will get the seats? So percentage in that term becomes important, because if the CUET scores were similar, the board percentages were checked. Now, in case of grades, that diversity, of missing by 0.2% or 0.4% is often skipped out. Now,
Yeah.
again, if I talk about the grading system, it reduces the competitive pressure for every single mark, that I have to study only for marks, only for percentage, and not for my personal learning. So again, they have their both benefits and negative sides.
Right. So Tejas, so it's a very personal question, like not personal question, I would say, but then apart from your studies, are you involved in any extracurricular activities also?
A lot of them. Actually, like, in my personal opinion, पढ़ाई हर कोई कर लेता है, right? Anyone can study, anyone, specifically in the current Indian education system, where you have to memorize the theoretical knowledge and you'll be able to secure good marks. What I believe is that participating in extracurricular activities give you that knowledge, give you that exposure, that these things work in a certain way. For example, in our education system, sports is considered as an extracurricular activity as well. I
Right.
remember Virat Kohli saying that it is not an extracurricular activity. It is a part of the curriculum. It is a part of the teamwork that the students should be taught at school. So I do participate in a lot of activities, especially be it anchoring, comparing, debates, quizzes, and also in MUNs and youth parliaments, of course.
Right, right. So, India has a very robust network of higher education institutions. But as far as the global ranking is concerned, the picture or scenario is completely different. So, what do you think exactly where we are lacking? Why we are not coming to that global ranking in terms of like higher education institutions and all? Especially especially our IITs, yeah, and IIMs.
Right. Thank you for asking me that question. I mean, the answer is quite clear. It will be controversial, but what kind of democracy do we live in when we have to fear presenting our thoughts? So I'll say this openly. Reservation is one of the major causes. It was made for the right cause, but not the right people are benefiting from it. People might come defending the so-called upper class is only this much percentage of India's population. The reservation is, for example, 30%. Let me make this clear that it is not reservation, it is unreserved category, and even people from different backgrounds are free to secure a seat for themselves. Number one university in the world is number one because they understand the value of intellect. Now people will say, oh, but in foreign countries they don't have that so-called categorized lower caste population. I mean, gypsies, and I don't even understand what lower caste people are. It is a very vast topic and should be saved for later.
Right, right. I'm glad that you have addressed this question because many of us would like to ignore this question rather than answering it. I'm glad that you have answered it. And yes. So, where do you see Indian education system in India's trajectory, if I'll say about the socio-economic development of India in, let's say, like in next 5 years, where do you see Indian education system contributing towards the socio-economic development of India?
That's a very good question. I mean, it will be a make it or break it factor. Our very own flex. India has a lot of youth. Youth ages with time. We should understand this. If they don't get educated, do not earn enough, India will have to face a disastrous situation where we have hundreds of millions of old age people dependent upon the government to pay for their medical bills, groceries, housing, with even more less resources than what India has now. But if it works out well, imagine twice the population of USA, well educated, great intellect, earns satisfactory, pays taxes, saves for retirement. No one can stop India and will be literally unstoppable.
Right, right. So this is a very out of box question, but this is the present day scenario I would like to ask you about. So being a student, have you faced any kind of stress or depression at any point of time? Because we know that there are a lot of suicide cases happening around. So what will be your viewpoint or what will be your suggestion on that?
There would be hardly any student that answers, no, I haven't faced any stress. When you have exams coming up, when you have to memorize hundreds of, like, in for example, in grade 11th, I had to memorize and side by side understand, but hundreds of pages in order to ace my exams. And every
Right.
student goes through that. Not every student has that. Maybe they have an innovative mind, maybe they are good at understanding things, but memorizing the text written in the textbooks is not everybody's cup of tea. So that is the break point where stress arises, and then parental pressure, and
Right.
students do tend to fall into depression.
Right, right. So, what will be your suggestion to the education curriculum creator or builder of our country? Let's say the people who are sitting at the NCRT office and they're creating the books for the CBSE and other boards, state boards across the country. So, what will be your suggestion as a student to them? And do you think that students' thoughts and suggestion should be more inclusive in creating their curriculum? Because I personally think that way. I mean, student suggestions should be taken before creating a curriculum.
Right. Think of education as a product that is delivered to people. When you're forcing your product on people that this is the way my product is designed and it's your choice either have it or not, that's not the way things work. You must take the opinion of people into what ways your product should be adapted or designed in order to have a greater impact. Similar is the case of education in India. If I were to offer recommendations to curriculum builders in India, I would focus on creating an education system that is more holistic, inclusive, and future ready. My suggestions to them will be that emphasize on critical thinking and problem solving. As I already mentioned, rote learning is a big problem. We must move beyond that. Curriculum should prioritize critical thinking, problem solving, and creativity over memorization. Encourage inquiry based learning where students actively engage in questioning, researching, and experimenting. There should be project based learning, although there are already project based learning, but
Right.
we must also introduce some incentivization to promote the same. We must integrate life skills and emotional intelligence as a part of the curriculum and not state them as extracurricular activities. Social and emotional learning, incorporate SEL into the curriculum to help students develop emotional intelligence, resilience, empathy, and interpersonal skills. Because later on, when they move beyond academics, when they have obtained their degrees, these are the skills that will help them with their lives, and not that one chemistry formula that they learned once in 11th grade or 12th grade. Also, we must promote multidisciplinary and flexible learning. Cross-disciplinary courses were introduced recently under NEP 2020 as well, but again,
Yeah.
there's a huge difference when you work on paper and when you work on ground reality. Although that has been introduced, but what are the career options after a person takes, for example, physics with psychology and sociology? So we must encourage the blending of
Right.
subjects, allowing students to explore connections between fields like science and art or technology and humanities. This fosters a more comprehensive understanding and prepares students for complex interdisciplinary challenges. Also, we must also incorporate vocational education and skill development. We should also focus on foundational literacy and numeracy, because in many schools, right, just one example, imagine I open a Chinese medium school, right? You send your child to my school so that he could learn Chinese, but no one at the child's house speaks in Chinese. But when he comes to school, he'll have only one out of every 8 periods that focuses on teaching Chinese. Rest the teachers are coming and explaining even the concepts in that particular language. So that creates a barrier that student is not able to comprehend what is being taught. Similar is the case of English medium schools. Many parents themselves are not well taught in English, but they send their child in hopes of becoming well educated to English medium schools where they are from grade 1 itself taught in English. I think it must be made necessary, and as far as I remember, in NEP as well, they have stated about grade till grade 5 or till grade 8 that it will be mandatory that the children are taught in their own mother languages so that their foundational literacy and numeracy is strong and they are able to understand concepts when they come in grade 10th or 11th.
Right. So, yeah. So, what do you think that inclusion of our Shastras, Bhagavad Gita, Ramayana, and all the Indian mythologies as a part of our curriculum would really help us grow as an individual at the later stage?
Definitely. Well, we all flex that thing कि India was once a golden bird, सोने की चिड़िया. Now the reason is that the Indian education system was Indian back then. The Indian education system is not Indian right now. Always in the ancient times, there was this concept of in Gurukuls that they were first in the junior grades. They were taught about life, what is death, and all the phenomena related to life. That gives a broader perspective to the child that what he or she wants to do with their own life, how they want to contribute this limited time they have on planet Earth towards the betterment of society and leave a legacy behind. But now what we see is that a child is born from grade 3 itself, right? Trust me, grade 3 itself, these coaching institutions have programs for grade 3 students. So they are forced into that thing, and this is the reason why we are seeing that suicidal rates are increasing in our country, because children are being pushed into a space where they are not aware about anything. So including Shastras and Bhagavad Gita will definitely help them a lot.
Right. So did it help you? Like, is it a part of your day-to-day life? Like, do you read Bhagavad Gita or any of these mythologies?
I wouldn't call them mythologies, sorry, but it's my personal opinion. But again, yes, I have read several stories that relates to our past, and in fact, in my school, thankfully, I studied in a school where they used to issue, instead of a novel, we had Mahabharat book, where we used to learn the learnings that Mahabharat had to share. And again, I come from a family where they focus on life learnings as well, and thankfully my parents didn't force me into rote learning that grades are everything, what are you learning, life lessons are not important. I didn't have to face that, so definitely that helped me a lot.
Right. Well, most of the students would be interested to pursue their career. I mean, they are either preparing for IIT JEE or they are either preparing for NEET. So, why did you choose a different path and you want to go for the IBM program? And where do you see yourself in future? Like, let's say after 5 years, where do you see yourself standing up?
Right. So it is a sad state of society that we have categorized the streams that students take into two parts: IIT JEE or NEET. If you're not pursuing either of these courses, you're seen as a failure by the society. And often it is seen that students tend to flex that this IIT is doing that stuff. Well, it is not something to flex about. It is a sad state that the person had to pursue engineering, had to go through the courses that don't even help him now. There are several actors that are IITians, and I don't see them using that engineering knowledge in their acting fields, unless they are a director of a movie or something, right? Also, the reason why I decided to pursue a different course is because I wanted to do something that interests me. I didn't want to go with the sheep flow, right? If everyone is doing IIT JEE, I'll do IIT JEE. I'm a PCM student. I took PCM because I think it is quite important for me to understand the basics of physics and chemistry. Like recently, I learned this wonderful thing that why we shall not allow factories to dump hot water into the rivers, So that intrigues me a lot. But in a long run, when I look for a degree, I think it should be a long run benefit that I must get. So IPM was one of my choices for that.
Right, right. So every student has a kind of a mentor in his or her life. So who is your go-to person? I mean, maybe it can be your teacher, maybe your parents, or anyone. Who is your mentor, or maybe your go-to person at the time when it is required?
Right. So I don't have any such go-to person because
Yeah.
again, when I was quite young, I was introduced to these life lessons themselves. So I don't really need much consultants. But again, when I need consultancy, I prefer to reach out to the best person in their field, because generalizing, for example, if I have some doubts regarding my career opportunities in a specific field, I will not go to any person just because I idealize them. I will in turn try to reach out to a career professional that will be able to guide me better. So I believe in reaching out to the best people instead of having one go-to person.
Yeah, right. All right. It was really a good conversation, and I must say that I have a daughter which who is like 2 years old now, and I would like her to grow to become like you because I really like your enthusiasm and that urge to put your thoughts in front of, like, without even thinking of giving it a second thought or anything. You're just putting your thought as it is and keeping it as raw as possible. So it was really a good conversation with you. Thank you so much for your time. And yeah, great. I really wish you luck and all the best for your future.
Thank you so much. Also, it's my pleasure. It was my pleasure to be on this podcast and share my thoughts, share my views. And again, I was wrong because I think being honest is a very important thing when there are millions of people looking out for your thoughts. So that will be it from my side.